When getting the cultivator fine-tuned, and just a little bit about that, a 2-row cultivator is fairly easy to set because you got your left row, you got the right row. You get them set even. If the left row is throwing too much dirt, you change it so it doesn't throw too much dirt, so it's identical to your right row. Now what we have to understand is this toolbar is one solid piece of metal. You cannot make this row go faster than the row over there. They all travel at the same speed. That's a given. That's part of your equation that's locked in. So we have to adjust these. We have to adjust these as far as depth and moving them in and out, as far as the angle of this up and down. Those are the adjustments to make it so we get perfect flow of soil in here in the combustion chamber to do the exact job we want done. Now let's say we got a row that throwing too much dirt in, and at 3.5 mile an hour it starts covering up, but you want to go 4.75. So what you have to do is change that row so that you can go 4 mile an hour. And then at that point in time, all of a sudden one of these rows that was fine at 3.5 is covering up, but you want to go 4.5 instead of 4. You want to keep working up the scale, see? You want to get going, you want to get yourself going 4.7 mile an hour or 5 mile an hour, figure wheel slippage. So that's when you get the sweet spot. Okay, you can cultivate 6.5, 7 mile an hour, but the thing is, the faster you go, the more mistakes you make, the less you can stay on the row, and then you do a poor job. I want quality. I'm not all about get her done. See, one of the number one things I have to do when working with conventional farmers is to change the mindset from get her done to do it excellent. Okay, just getting her done so we can go to the coffee shop and tell everybody, I got my corn planted, or I got this done, or I got that. No, 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 no. It's not done until it's perfect. Okay, so that's how I set the cultivator to perfection. Is I always go as fast as I can go, and when I get a row that's misbehaving, I fix that. Make it so it doesn't misbehave. Then it'll be another one show up that's misbehaving. Then you fix that one so you can go, and you get it so you can go 4.75 mile an hour. Okay, and if you got a row may not be throwing enough, you got to get rows to throw enough too. So sometimes they're not a matter of misbehaving. They're still in bed. You got to get the dirt slammed into that row, and all of them doing as close to being exactly like as possible. Okay, and that goes all the way back to the flail shredder, to the biological inoculant, to the plow disking, to the tandem disking, to the cereal rice seeding, to the shredding of and knockdown and disking in of the cereal rye. See, everything leads up to getting this combustion chamber to fire right. I'm making the fuel, and I got to refine it properly. And it's not refined properly, I can't get the spark plugs to fire properly. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in here is the magic that happens right in here. Weeds, grass, everything, and the crop comes in the front of the fenders. And if everything's magic's working, what comes out the back of the fender is the crop. And any weeds that are still got a leaf sticking out are down so low, knocked down so low from the crop coming through, that the flow off these should fix it. As long as you're going 3.5 mile an hour or more. Otherwise the dirt from here won't even reach the row. So you have to get all this working together. Well, with driving you have to relax. You have to build confidence. So start out, instead of putting your front sweeps real close to the row, leave them 3 inches out on each side. Even though you may need to put them in closer because your weeds are really bad, you are the magic of this system. You are the brain of this system. You're the one sitting on the tractor with that computer in your head working. It's adjusting economics as far as how many crops to cover up and how many weeds to leave. And all this is working in your head. You got to be a mathematician on the fly. And you also have to be a GPS unit on the fly, global positioning system, your own, okay? And you're going to be driving by, and you got to be noticing the feelings of what the seat of your pants. How's the tractor vibrating? Which way's the front tires flipping dirt? You got so much to think about, see? So you've got to slow it down, and you've got to get a feel for it. And you don't want to go beyond your capabilities. You'll build confidence as you get going faster and faster, and you get the cultivator working right. Usually, the cultivator will perform a lot faster than the operator can when they first start. Okay, so you set the cultivator up so you don't cover up any crop. You go 3.5, you go several rounds, you know, and then as you get better, staying on the row, you go faster and faster and faster. You have to adjust the cultivator to allow you to do that. For me, when I'm sitting on the operator seat, okay, I want to know my equipment is in good shape. I want to make sure everything's secure. The bolts are tight. And nothing's going to move. I'm confident that it's set right within reason, And I get on the tractor, and I've got my guide set in the right spot. I'm on level ground to start with. Hopefully that's the best place to learn how, is on level for a while anyhow. And then you take off and you keep the row guide on the row, and when you snap your head back to see if you've got crop behind you and you're not covering it all up, is I just snap my head back. A quick head snap, and then I'm back at the row guide, keeping it nailed right on the side of the tractor. And while I'm keeping it nailed right on there, I'm thinking in my head, I've got a memory. I mean, we were made brilliantly. I can actually remember what I saw, and I'm going over in my head. Row 2 was throwing a little bit more dirt from the left side, but it's still there. There's still a green streak. See, I didn't look at it real close, but I knew that if you got green streaks, you're okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to have a crop. And then what I do is I think about it in my head, and then I stop. I come back and I look back behind the cultivator and see which rows are getting the most dirt, and some are getting too much, some not enough, and then I adjust everything accordingly to what I think the adjustment ought to be. Get back on my tractor and start driving. Now, as far as driving real straight, when you're looking right here and trying to drive, it's not the same as if you're looking way up here and thinking. So I don't see it with my physical eye, but in my mind's eye and my head, I'm thinking about where this row ends up at the end row down at the end of the field. I know I'm going that direction, and that keeps me true somewhat. I may get off an inch back and forth with my row guide, but I'm keeping the general direction of the tractor headed to the other end of the field. So you don't want to oversteer. You don't want to get too jumpy. I'm better now than I was when I was younger, because now I don't oversteer. Okay? I relax more. Okay. In this field, nothing is going to hurt the yield. There's such very few weeds in this field. We had to hunt for a good spot to represent this. But this weed here made it past the cultivation, the first cultivation. Most people say, where'd that weed come from? It must just magically come up. No, it didn't. It just didn't. You have to accept the fact that when you have weeds, when your beans are waist high and they start growing up through the beans, and you're thinking, well, they didn't come up until, yeah, they did. They were there. And they were getting enough sunlight to get enough energy to grow on up, elongate themselves, and get up above, or get to where they get some sunlight and continually to grow. Just like this crabgrass here. That crabgrass made it. It's right smack dab in the row, but there wasn't quite, almost covered it up from the dirt coming from the other side, but it didn't quite get the job done, and that's my fault. If I'd been driving enough faster, or maybe had a fender on this side raised just a tad more, this crabgrass wouldn't be here. Okay, that's my fault. And so that's the secret to cultivation is, if you got weeds at harvest, but it looks perfectly clean after you cultivated, more than likely you didn't do an aggressive enough job at throwing dirt to your row.